Just found out you have PCOS and insulin resistance and was told that weight loss might help despite having already tried everything?
By the end of this video, you'll understand the connection between PCOS, insulin resistance, and weight gain. So you'll know how to strategically pick the right things to eat for you to reverse all of these naturally without trying another diet program or a bunch of pills.
And I really hope you stick around until the end because we're going to give you 3 simple but powerful markers to follow that's worked for our PCOS clients and will work out for you too. One of our clients followed these guidelines and managed to lose over 10 pounds in less than 2 months without tons of exercise, going hungry, or giving up her social life.
And we have a bonus cheat sheet that's going to really help you, so stay until the end to learn how to get that.
Hi, Richa and Lucy here from CoachViva.com. For the best advice on how to take control and be a badass body boss for life, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we post a video every week. And before I begin, I want to quickly announce that a few spots are open now for our free one-to-one consult with Lucy and I for our Badass Body Boss program. So make sure you stay until the end of this video for the announcement on how to enroll. Now let's get started. Many women with PCOS also have insulin resistance, since the effects of one can often worsen the symptoms of the other in a feedback loop. And PCOS and insulin resistance affects weight gain in a specific way that uniquely affects how you should approach your food choices in ways other people may not have to deal with. When you eat a carb-heavy meal like pasta and bread, it gets broken down into sugars or glucose. So your pancreas releases insulin over here. And the release of the insulin tells your body that it needs to move these sugars from your bloodstream into your cells to be used for energy. And this tells your body that it needs to move these sugars from your bloodstream into your cells to be used for energy. As you can see, the insulin is moving glucose into your cell. So insulin is important, but sometimes your body does not know how much insulin to release and it ends up releasing too much. If insulin remains elevated for too long, for too often, you may develop insulin resistance. This is what happens when you develop insulin resistance. Your body produces insulin to try to move these sugar molecules, also called glucose, to the cells. But the cells are unable to receive all the glucose and it basically gets access denied. So here you can see insulin trying to move the glucose into the cell, but the glucose is bouncing off. So the body creates way more insulin to try to force the glucose in. Glucose can't just stay in the bloodstream either. So it is sent to the liver, where some of it gets stored as glycogen, but any excess must get converted into fat. So over here we have the liver, all the excess goes in here, and then the excess gets stored as fat. But wait, there's more. Since your cells still need energy from glucose and it's not getting any, your body tries to resolve this by releasing more insulin. So now you have even more insulin trying to be released. And this is now excess insulin that gets into your bloodstream. Spikes in insulin can also lead to blood sugar crash 2 to 5 hours afterwards, leading to hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. This can cause low energy and cravings, especially for high carb and high sugar foods, which makes you want to eat more than you had if your blood sugars had been more stable. It can be a vicious cycle. Comment below and tell me what's the worst sugar crash or sugar craving you've experienced after eating high carb, high sugar foods.
The good news is that you can lose fat and or feel better if you choose to, but it's not about crash dieting, taking pills, or quick fixes. It's about choosing nutrient-dense, high satiety, and slow digesting foods that do not spike your insulin levels and eating them with mindfulness and moderation so that you're putting every single calorie, carb, and nutrient to work for your body and not against it. This is true for all people, but especially for women with PCOS and insulin resistance. So I'm going to arm you with 3 fail-proof markers for making food choices that you can put into practice today. Number 1 is to choose foods with a low glycemic load. Not glycemic index. Now, you might have heard of the glycemic index before, which is a marker for how quickly food breaks down into sugar in the body, but it's assuming you're eating the same amount of each kind of food by the same weight. For instance, a watermelon has a higher glycemic index than a Snickers bar, but 50 grams of watermelon is way different than 50 grams of Snickers. Glycemic load, on the other hand, takes into account the portion sizes of the food. So even though the watermelon has a higher glycemic index, it has way less glycemic load compared to a Snickers. And don't worry, you won't need to know how much glycemic load every food has right now. I have a printable food list for you that I'll tell you how to get at the end of this video. Number 2 is to choose foods with low insulin demand. Insulin demand. This is a marker popularized by Dr. Fiona McCullough and is like the glycemic load, except instead of measuring blood glucose levels, it measures how much insulin your body secretes in response to those levels. And those two tend to correlate with each other, but are not the same thing. While blood glucose depends on the carb contents of the foods you eat, the insulin response depends on the entire nutritional profile of the foods. When it comes to PCOS and insulin sensitivity, the food insulin demand is a much more holistic and direct indicator of how much effect a food has on your insulin levels. So why isn't the food insulin demand very talked about as much? Simply because there's not as many foods that have been categorized under this new marker as they have with the glycemic index and the glycemic load markers. But if you want the up-to-date food list of what we have so far, download our printable cheat sheet, which I'll talk about at the end of this video with instructions on that later. Alright, number 3 is to choose foods with high satiety index and or high fullness factor. These two mean pretty much the same thing, and the food lists for both are very similar, so that's why we clump them together. And just like it sounds, the satiety index or fullness factor measures how full a particular food makes you feel after eating it. It's amazing for 3 reasons. 1. Practically all high satiety food are either high in protein or fiber and low in simple starches and sugars, which means a lot less empty calories, which means lower calories consumed overall, which leads to faster fat loss. 2. Because high satiety food tend to be low in simple carbs and sugars, it's less likely to spike your insulin. Even in high satiety foods that are also high in carbs like potatoes, they at least contain fiber too, which helps slow down the overall release of sugars. And 3. By nature of being high satiety, you don't need to eat a large quantity of these foods to feel full, so they can help you eat in more controlled, moderate portions, which definitely helps with sustainable fat loss. And no matter what, calories and portioning still matters. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry to say, but this is especially true if you have PCOS, because you have smaller wiggle room. Now, this doesn't mean you have to religiously count the calories of every last bite, but it does mean you need to be paying attention to how much calories or how much portion you're consuming. And it can help you figure out when you start to pay attention what to eat more of or what to eat less of. And it will help you figure out where you're getting most of your calories from, so you know to eat less of that. Or what are some foods that are low calorie but that you enjoy eating, so you know you can keep eating more of that. All of this put together helps make the fat loss process easier while stabilizing your insulin balance. Win-win. So to sum it all up, choose foods that are low glycemic load, low food insulin demand, high satiety index, and fullness factor. And just watch out overall that you are moderating your calorie intake. Now you know what to look for. What exactly are all the foods out there that fit these criteria? Don't worry, I got you covered. We analyze public data for literally hundreds of foods to help curate for you a cheat sheet that contains a food list of all the best foods that fit all of these criteria, so you know what to eat more or less of. Just click the link in the description below and let me know where to send this awesome cheat sheet to. Also, I'm happy to announce that a few spots have opened up now for the free one-on-one consult with Richa and I for our Badass Body program. So please click the link in the description below to sign up for the consult to see if we're a good fit for each other to work together. If you're serious about reaching your health and fitness goals, and only if you're really serious about it, then please sign up. This is not just to have a chat. Come prepared with a serious goal in mind that you want to achieve. And if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and share this video with whoever else you feel could use this information. And be sure to check out these 2 videos to learn more about how to make progress for your body type and lose fat even with PCOS. You can do it.